So we're presented in that first reading from St. Paul to the Corinthians this idea of the foolishness of the cross, because of course there were some people who seen the cross as the end, but yet people with faith can see the victory in the cross. But sometimes this is difficult for us to see, and sometimes in our life when we experience suffering, we're asked to unite our suffering with the cross. But not only just with the cross and the crucifixion, but of course there's that journey and that movement towards the crucifixion. There are many stages which we see in the stations of the cross. So how can we associate these stages with our life? How can we associate these stages with times of sickness in our own lives? And of course, the first station, we know that Jesus is condemned. He's condemned to die. He receives that sentence. And we too, in our own lives, when illness comes upon us, it's a sentence that we too receive. This illness could be for a short or a long period of time, or even indeed for the entire of the rest of our lives. And then the second station is where Jesus is made to bear the cross. And of course, the crosses that we have in our lives, especially today in this Mass of the Sick, we focus on the crosses of illness. We too need to bear that cross. And then, of course, we come to the third station where Jesus falls for the first time. And of course, for many of us today, when the illness becomes unbearable or too much, we too can fall under that weight. But Jesus has given the strength to pick himself back up. And that strength comes from God, the God of our lives. And we too need to rely on that strength. And then, of course, there's encounter in the fourth station with Jesus with his mother. We too have, for many of us, family and friends around us that encounter us in these times of illness. And then, of course, appears Simon of Cyrene, somebody who helps Jesus to carry that cross. Maybe there are people who have helped us during our times of illness, helped us to carry the cross when it's become too much, whom we give thanks to. Or maybe we're too afraid to ask for help. And then, of course, we know that there's the encounter with Veronica, and she wipes the face of Jesus. Who is it that's in our lives that when it does become too much for us, that they're the ones that step out from the crowd? They're the ones that reach out to us and help us in our time of need. And then, of course, we know that Jesus falls for that second time. But yet, again, the strength is given to him by God to pick himself up and continue on that journey. And we too must rely on God in our lives. Then the women of Jerusalem. Who are those people around us? Who are the people that support us? And yet, Jesus is the one that's reaching out to these to give them strength and courage, like he does with us every day in our lives. Then again, Jesus falls for that third time. Really, the pressure is on, the weight of that cross. For we too can feel that heavy weight of illness in our lives. Then, of course, there's that stripping of Jesus of his garments. When we find ourselves in illness and when things progress, we can find ourselves stripped maybe of our own dignity, maybe stripped of our independence. And again, this is the time we need to rely on God. And of course, we know that the rest of the stations plays out where Jesus is actually nailed to the cross and crucified. Sometimes in our life we can feel that the burden is too much, that we cannot continue on this journey. And yet we should take that strength from Christ himself, the one that suffered for each and every one of us. And then we come to this gospel that we've listened to this morning. This idea that Jesus gets in the boat almost as though he's trying to escape, almost as though he's trying to get away from the people, almost as though there's a sign of abandonment. And we too can feel like this in our lives, that God may be not close to us, that we feel that we've been abandoned. Of course, we know our faith helps us to know that God never abandons us. It's ourselves that turn away from God. But that great strength that we should take today is those words of Jesus that calms the sea, that stops the wind. Because God is the only one that has the power. God is the one that can lift us in every moment of our lives. But we need something very important, and that is our faith. And of course, our faith can be shaken at times of illness. Our faith can be shaken at times of distress. But know that that quiet calmness of Christ is the one that will help us and lift us out of these situations. So normally at this point we would begin the anointing of the sick. And this is an important part of a celebration of this sort, to receive that sacrament. So maybe we can spend a few moments in the silence of our hearts, inviting Christ and his healing power to come and to touch us in our lives in our moments of weakness.